I've always loved gaming, and especially retro gaming and just anything related to it, which is where this guy in the corner comes in. So this is my Super Nintendo Classic Edition. I bought this one back in 2018, I believe, pretty much right whenever they came out, and I've owned it ever since. Both the Classic Edition systems, the NES and the SNES, were sort of limited run, so you can't just go to Walmart and pick one of these up off the shelf. They do go for a little bit of money now, but I just wanted to make a video looking back on the classic systems and just kind of giving a retrospective. But the actual system itself is just a scaled down version of the Super Nintendo, or if you had the NES model, it would be a scaled down version of the NES. All of the buttons are functional aside from the eject button, since it is just a little mini console. You can't put games in it. On the back, it's micro USB for power and HDMI. I would have liked if this would have come out more recently and for it to have USB-C. Maybe they'll relaunch these at a later date, but so far they've only done a single run for each system. Where you'd plug in your controllers on the original, there's a little plastic flap that pulls out, and that's where you plug in your new controllers. These controllers use the same plug as the Wii Nunchuck or other Wii accessories, which means that controllers such as the Wii Classic controller fully work on this system. Something a little odd about the classic systems, if you want to go to the home menu to pick a different game to play, you have to hit the reset switch, which is fine. So obviously you can't go home by using the controller. However, aftermarket controllers or the Wii Classic controller, you can press the home button on those controllers and it'll go home. So I feel like there could have been a shortcut, like press certain buttons together to go home, but they didn't really implement anything like that. One of the biggest criticisms at the time when this came out was that it only outputted in 720p. Now I feel like we're all laughing at that now because pretty much every game on the Nintendo Switch to this day runs at 720p. People were complaining about this years ago. All the games on the system are just 16-bit, so you really wouldn't even benefit from scaling the resolution up. But let's talk controllers. So like I mentioned, the controller port is the same as a Wii Nunchuck port or expansion port, whatever you want to call it, meaning that the Wii Classic controller will work on this, as well as playing Virtual Console games on your Wii will work with the Super Nintendo Classic controller. So the console was $80, and it came with two of these controllers, which were pretty much one-to-one to the original, aside from the fact that they featured a nunchuck plug on the end. I'm probably just going to keep calling this the nunchuck plug for the rest of the video. You guys know what I mean. But has everything an original Super Nintendo controller has, from buttons to the plastic feeling very similar to bumpers. Now obviously these are wired, and the wires aren't very long, so you do have to sit close to the system. But there are extension cables, as well as fully wireless controllers, where you just plug in a little wireless adapter right here. I don't know where the adapter for mine is. Oops. But here's what it looks like. It's fully wireless and has a home button, so you don't have to press the home button on the system. There is a micro USB port right here, but it's not rechargeable. That's just if you want to leave it plugged in. It takes AAA batteries. So those ones look like they need to come out actually. Basically, that little nunchuck plug with little clips on the side to lock it in. And because of the nunchuck plug, there's no pulling it out by accident, since it, just fully locks in there, which I think is a pretty good design that the original could have benefited from, years ago. No accidentally unplugging your controller, because that's really in there. And one thing I know about these for sure is that they're very easy to mod and add more games to, which I might play with in the near future since I'm taking a look back at the system. Drop a comment if you want to see that. But as far as I'm aware, the boards between the NES and SNES classic systems are the same, so they're pretty much the same power level, and you can emulate up to N64 on both, from what I've heard. And we'll continue on the system. I just realized I need to find a power cable for this, because everything that I've bought recently uses USB-C. So, be right back. Alright, found a micro USB cable here. Let's plug it in and see what we got. But yeah, strangely, when it came out, one of the main complaints was that it was only 720p. But we're living in a world where Nintendo's mainline console is still mostly 720p. It looks like I have a save state on Yoshi's Island that's 10 seconds in. So the save states are really, really cool, because as you can see, I played Star Fox 2 a little bit and made this save state. So I can just jump in and keep playing right where I left off. And obviously, it doesn't fill the screen because it's, 4:3 aspect ratio. So they have the filler around the edge. And this one in particular is actually pretty cool because it changes color as you play. But this is Star Fox 2, which originally didn't release in the US, and this was the first time that it made an appearance, but I think they've since put it on Switch Online. But I feel like back whenever it released for $80, it was actually still pretty high at the time, but I still feel like it was a pretty good value. But nowadays, these things are going for 100 plus, especially in box. So the value proposition doesn't really exist for these unless you're a collector. Because while they do run all the games full speed, you can do the same thing on much cheaper hardware. A mini PC like this one is absolutely fantastic at emulation of all kinds, and it probably costs as much as one of these brand new nowadays. So the value really doesn't exist for this system anymore. It's more of just nostalgia or collector's anxiety. But at the end of the day, it's definitely one of my favorite mini consoles, since the two mini consoles that Nintendo did were actually some of the highest quality ones compared to all the other stuff on the market. And I think the general retrospect is that it's just a really cool, stepping stone in Nintendo's history. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you go out and buy one with the aftermarket prices and stuff in the secondhand market. At the end of the day, I think it's a really cool console that, if you're a Nintendo fan, you more than likely should have in your collection. Super small, super power efficient, barely takes any power. I haven't tried it for myself. I might try it in a future video. But supposedly you can just plug this to your computer and it picks up like a flash drive and you can add games super easy to it. So yeah, this is the Super Nintendo Classic Edition 6 years later. You absolutely can do better for the price with something like a Raspberry Pi or a mini PC. And those would be much more capable than this, especially at the price point. But there's just something about physical Nintendo hardware, especially since this was a limited release. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it at least a little bit interesting. And drop a comment of what you want to see next. And hit the like button. It would really, really help. I'd appreciate it. Yeah, that's all from me. I'm out. Peace.